Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have the return of the Arena Cube. For those who don't know, the Cube is a collection of the most powerful cards on Arena, so it's a draft format that ends up playing a lot more like Constructed in terms of the power level of the matches. Very insane format, but because it does contain a lot of the more powerful cards on Arena, tons of mythics and rares in every pack, you do not keep anything that you draft in this format. It is much more about the gameplay of the format than really expanding your collection like you can do in a regular draft. So really just for those that are interested in playing it rather than those trying to get more cards for the collection. So here we have a very solid opening pack, as you're always going to have in Cube. Always going to be incredibly powerful options and several ways to go in every pack. So here I like Angel of Invention a lot. A lot of the white cards in the Cube are pretty aggressive, and Angel of Invention is just a solid card by itself. You can play it as a 5-mana 4/3 Flying Vigilance Lifelink, which is obviously great. Or if you have other creatures, you are buffing your whole field, giving them all +1/+1, and even by itself, you spread out those servo tokens, and those servos are all 2/2s with the angel. So I like the angel a lot here. I like maybe playing a more aggressive sort of strategy, but as I've said before, pretty much the vast majority of the cards in the pack are very first pickable for whatever kind of strategy you wish to do. I do like History of Benalia a lot in the aggressive decks as well. 3 mana to create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. You do that twice off the first and second part of the saga, and then the third part buffs all of your knights +2/+1 until end of turn, giving you a large attack with those 2 knights. Very solid card, very solid follow-up to Angel of Invention, but there are other great options in this pack as always. Lay Claim's super fun as a big, expensive card to play if you're in a more rampy deck. Just gain control of your opponent's best card. That is really powerful in Cube. Obviously, the best card in Cube is usually going to be something absolutely insane. Some great mono-red aggressive cards, Viashino Pyromancer, great on turn 2, and Hazoret the Fervent, a great game ender in an aggressive red deck after you've dumped out your hand. All of a sudden just a 4-mana indestructible 5/4 haste that even gives you extra reach, hitting your opponent for 2 off of any land you top deck in the late game. Great aggressive red card. Karn's great because Karn's a good value card off the +1 and -1 in literally any deck, so Karn's a good early pick in draft. And then there's like Massacre Worm, great against aggressive decks in a black build. Really awesome stuff out of the whole pack. Obviously, the Felidar Retreat being another good card for an aggressive white deck. That one a bit slower than History of Benalia, coming out on turn 4, but allowing you to landfall into a 2/2 every time that you hit one, or put a +1/+1 counter on your whole field. Here's an incredibly easy Starnheim Unleashed. This card is immensely powerful, as are most cards in the Cube, but this one being a huge game ender, 2 mana to foretell it, and then you get to spend a white X and X to create X 4/4 Flying Vigilance Angels. So if you foretell this on turn 2, then on turn 5 you get 2 4/4 Flying Angels, or on turn 7 you get 3 4/4 Flying Angels, and so on and so forth. Really massive effect. Very powerful late game card for the white aggro decks, and I'm happy to pick it up here. Honestly good in any white deck, to be honest. Even in a more controlling deck, you just use this and it'll end the game after you've stabilized. Other than that, in this pack, Ronus is a lot of fun in green aggro decks. Finale, good for ramp deck. Everything in there really solid in one way or the other. So for a white aggressive deck, I think that early drops are going to be important, so I'm going to take Usher of the Fallen over Unbreakable Formation here, which might be a little bit of a contentious pick, but right now our curve starts at 3, and I'm kind of leaning towards potentially mono-white aggro here, seeing as every card we've taken so far is in white, and in that deck we are definitely going to want a ton of 1/2 mana cards. These are going to be important cards to pick up early on, especially because we've already picked up some great game-ending sort of cards. The Angel and Starnheim Unleashed for sure both fit into that category. Unbreakable Formation is a great card if you already have a ton of creatures out, but this is a card I'm much more comfortable taking after I already have a ton of good 1/2 mana white creatures. That being said, it is tremendously powerful. Obviously, give your creatures indestructible till end of turn at instant speed, can counter a board wipe from your opponent, but there are some board wipes that it won't counter, like Massacre Worm and Languish, stuff that gives -X/-X. So it is good at that, but I am going to take the Usher of the Fallen first here. This is our first pack. We're probably not taking a white card. There is Golos in this cube. This cube has Golos, Niv Mizzet, and Field of the Dead in it, so 5-color ramp, 5-color good stuff. Definitely a strategy you can do. Not something we'll end up playing after our start of 4 powerful, aggressive white cards, though. Honestly, with a start like we have right here, the most likely card for us to play would probably be Thundering Rebuke, potentially be Boros aggro, or Bloodchief's Thirst for Orzhov aggro. Both of these being great cards for aggressive decks, just cheap ways to get an opposing early drop out of the way and keep your aggro swinging in, so I think both of these would be important. Ovia Pashiri is nice for like green-white tokens, but she's a much slower card. I think I'm going to take Thundering Rebuke here. So Ovia Pashiri, technically a 1-drop, but doesn't exactly fill out the 1-drop slot super well because you're obviously wanting to use her abilities in the late game and take over the game that way. This will be a pretty easy Hallow Blade, a premier 2-mana creature for aggressive white decks. If we were taking a red card here, it would be Heroic Reinforcements, which would be quite powerful. The Boros aggro decks are going to be going wide. This gives us 2 more creatures to go wider and gives our whole field +1/+1 haste till end turn, so really solid card for the Boros aggro, but with a lot of very white effects here, double white on Benalia, double white on Starnheim, double white on Angel of Invention. I want to lean into mono white as closely as I possibly can, because it is a definite possibility you can end up in. Now we have Basri's Lieutenant or Sacred Foundry. We only have 1 card that combos well with Lieutenant by having anything to do with +1/+1 counters, the Angel of Invention here. So we're not getting a lot out of Lieutenant's death ability, but it is still a 4-mana, 4/5 Vigilance protection for multicolored that creates a 2/2 when it dies by itself, which is really solid. Then again, just pretty solid, not the most exciting thing ever. It is mono white though. Yeah, other than that, a Johnny, putting a counter on all your creatures, good if you're going wide, and Sacred Foundry, just good if we end up in Boros. I think I'm just going to keep cutting white pretty hard here, so that it's more likely that we can end up as one of the only white drafters in Pack 2, so everybody on my left knows I'm taking every white card. None of these people can get anything in the color for now. God's Willing, great and aggressive white decks. Counters a removal spell from your opponent or makes your creature win the combat if it gets blocked by something, and you get to scry 1, so really solid card there. Dragonkin Berserker, a great card for Boros aggro though. I think I'm just going to keep on the mono white train, see if we can have that pan out for us. Obviously nothing in mono white here, so we're just taking a good red card. Or maybe a Cloud Blazer. No, this seems definitely a more mid-range card at the very least. Not for aggro. It's not going to be a Lava Runner deck. We're unlikely to have enough instant sorceries. Probably more of a Bomat Courier deck. Can refuel our hand after we've dumped everything out already. Definitely not a Castle Embereth deck. If we are playing red and white, we are playing most likely more white than red, so the red land that wants us to have double red to use its ability is not going to be great. Traxos untaps every time we cast historic spells. We only have 1 historic spell right now. It's our red artifact, so that seems less exciting than potentially Banefire to just end the game. Ooh, Kapir Takedown is pretty nice here. We can play it as a land, or we get to play it as a removal spell if we have a ton of creatures on the board, which we are likely to in an aggressive deck that we are setting up for here. Crush the Weak is not going to be for our strategy, killing a lot of our own creatures here, so we'll take the red-white dual land Savai Triumph, adding red-white or black. The black doesn't really matter. In an aggressive deck, we aren't going to want to be 3 colors, that's for sure, but we can still use the 2 colors of mana that it adds for us. Heroic Reinforcements wield. Well, I suppose Boros aggro is wide open, and that is where we're likely to land then. Getting a Heroic Reinforcements with only like 3 cards left in the pack. So Sacred Foundry probably would have ended up being a better pick than Basri's Lieutenant. Actually, definitely at this point in hindsight. And here we see a ton of powerful red cards as well as a great white 1-drop. The 1-drops are pretty important, but I doubt any of these red cards are wheeling. Chandra is much more for a controlling deck, because she does come out on turn 6, and then she gives you a clock that wins the game no matter what with the +2, and most of her abilities are just good at killing things. So, really more for a controlling deck. This 4-mana Chandra is kind of mid-rangey, but can fit into a aggressive deck well, because you can just keep drawing cards off of her +1, as long as you're casting them every turn. That being said, as cool as these Planeswalkers are, I honestly think the non-Planeswalkers are better. Like Rampaging Ferocidon and Dauntless Bodyguard I think are better cards here just because they're cheaper, good power level creatures, and they both have very good effects. Dauntless Bodyguard being able to protect something else, and Rampaging Ferocidon being able to shut off your opponent's life gain as well as damage them whenever they play creatures. So both of these are really good cards here. I think we take Dauntless Bodyguard, and in general, I would assume that these Planeswalkers get picked up first, and we might be able to wheel Ferocidon. But I think we actually want Ferocidon more than those Planeswalkers, to be honest. Ooh, wow. I have never played with this card before, but all of the swords are tremendously powerful in general. 3 mana, equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and blue. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a 2/2 wolf and mill that player 10 cards. It's just a huge effect to have on an equipment. In Limited, obviously, that's milling a third of their deck, because by the time you hit them, they'll have already drawn 10 cards. You draw 7 at the start of the game, 3 more, 3 turns in. So yeah, Sword of Body and Mind, I think, is going to be the pick here. Because it's a colorless card, it's the least likely card to wheel, but we'd love to wheel Direfleet Daredevil, or Pillar of Flame would be solid here, an early game removal spell, or a nice creature that we can play as a 2-mana 2/1 first striker, or if we draw it in the late game, this gives us extra value, letting us cast something from our opponent's graveyard. But yeah, definitely Sword of Body and Mind here. Really good when you have a lot of things to equip it onto, obviously. And we are already leaning towards having some creature tokens and stuff with Usher the Fallen, Heroic Reinforcements, History of Benalia, all of these kind of cards. Needle Verge and Pillar Verge Pathway seems great. Would love to wheel that. Although, there's a possibility we still end up in mono white here. In which case, Banalish Marshal would be incredible. It would still be okay in Boros leaning towards white heavily, but it would have to be quite the lean towards white. But yeah, 3 mana for a 3/3, buffs your whole field, +1/+1 seems awesome. Militia Bugler is great as well. 3 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance. Look at the top 4. Reveal a creature with power 2 or less from among them, put into your hand. So 3 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance that draws you another card, like a Bodyguard or Usher, is great. Banalish Marshal might be more likely to wheel. It should be more likely to wheel. There shouldn't be anyone else in mono white at this point. I'll actually go with the Bugler here, hoping to wheel the Banalish Marshal. We'll see how it pans out for us. Lurrus actually seems good for this deck. 3 mana for a 3/2 lifelink. We can cast it off of just white mana, and then it can allow us to recast our cards like Dauntless Bodyguard, Usher of the Fallen, Bomat Courier, all of that stuff once per turn. Very powerful card. Yeah, Lurrus seems great here. I think I'm happy to scoop that up. The other best options would be Cast Out as a 4 mana instant speed removal spell, or Captain Lannery Storm, giving us another aggressive creature that gives us treasure to fix our mana, to help cast things like Banalish Marshal if we kept those in our deck, and we're Boros. Tajik for Boros, anything for mono white here. Ancestral Blade, which would be solid, 2 mana for a 2/2, and then you can move this equipment elsewhere if that 2/2 dies. Glass Casket, also good in an aggressive deck. Just gets an early game blocker out of the way. So we take Tajik for Boros, or we go all in on wheeling that Banalish Marshal for the Ancestral Blade. We did wheel Heroic Reinforcements, so I feel like Tajik is a very likely wheel. If no one took Heroic Reinforcements, nobody's going to take Tajik. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There'll be 3 cards left in the pack. I can see a Tajik returning. I'll scoop an Ancestral Blade up here. Now, fight is 1. A human gets +1/+1 indestructible, and a non-human gets +1/+1 indestructible. We have a Spirit Warrior, a Human Knight, a Soldier. So we have 2 humans, 2 non-humans, 3 humans, 3 humans, 3 non-humans, 3 humans, 4 non-humans, 4 humans, 4 non-humans. We actually have a really good split of human non-humans, so fight as 1 could be good. Castle Ardenvale obviously would be okay in a mono-white deck, but in an aggressive deck, you don't want to get to a point where you're just like using a mana sink to just make 1/1s. Potentially it can kill your opponent, but this is a much more powerful card in a more controlling deck that's just trying to clear the board. And once you've cleared the board, even if you don't have any other way to do things, you're still just spitting out chump blockers at the very least, maybe using that to close out a game. Yeah, I'm going to take the Fides one there. That actually seems like a tremendously good combat trick for us. Sacred Cat, a 1/1 lifelink, and then we play it again as a 1/1 lifelink, or 3 mana 1/3 that exiles something. Neither of these are that exciting. I guess I'll go with the Fairgrounds Warden. Sticking to white as much as I can. Not actually that pumped about either of these red cards. Even if we end up in Boros, these are both probably going to get cut. The 6 mana 4/5 trample, or the card that deals X to each creature. So it's definitely bad in an aggressive deck. Yeah, all these red cards would get cut, so I'll grab an Arch of Orazca, and we might play that. Probably not. Oh no, the Planeswalkers wheeled. They knew. Somebody's playing like a red aggressive deck then, and they took the Rampaging Ferocidon. The cheaper Chandra would still maybe be playable in our Boros deck, but we're not going to be heavy into red. Helm of the Host is just too slow for an aggressive deck. We're probably not playing anything here, but I guess the most likely play would be the cheap Chandra.
Fire started? No? Too bad.
For a Boros deck that's going wide. Here we'll take Charming Prince, just a 2 mana 2/2. A little bit of an effect for us, scrying or gaining some life or something. Just gives us another creature on curve, and the only other card we could play here is Fragmentize, which I don't really want to main deck. Artifact enchantment removal. Although this is my first time with this cube, so we'll see how the format generally pans out. And if there's just always artifacts and enchantments to hit, Fragmentize might go up a lot in my pick order. We did wheel Banalish Marshal, which means that mono white is wide open, which is what we were working towards. Sorry, I cannot speak today. So yeah, we can absolutely get into mono white here. 18 cards. We're going to grab a 14th right here, cast out. I like that better than Yorion in a deck this aggressive. Glass Casket's a fine pickup. Oh yeah, we'll definitely have a 23 card deck here. We may even end up with stuff that we are cutting at the end. There's a Heliod in here. A lot of the cards from the Tinkerer's Cube, interestingly enough. Thalia actually seems pretty great in this deck, though probably better than Heliod. We don't have a ton of life gain, although we could try to focus more on that if we take Heliod. We have right now Charming Prince gains life 1 time, and then we have 1 lifelinker, Luris. Oh yeah, really not a lot of life gain going on. I guess Angel of Invention gains life as well, but at that point, when we're playing 5 mana cards, we want the game to just be over at that point. Yeah, Thalia seems great. Make all of your opponent's non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Helps a lot making their removal, counter spells, wrath effects cost more when you're a white weenie aggressive deck, which we definitely are. So Thalia seems just great here no matter what. And I guess the only thing we're playing here is Sujiri's Shelter. Save one of our things or play it as land. We'll definitely play it over plains. There's just nothing else in our colors there. Our singular color, I should say. I am going to keep this Bomat Courier in this deck just as a Raging Goblin, just a 1 mana 1/1 haste until we get something better than it, which should be pretty quick here. But I'm just going to keep 23 cards and cutting a card whenever I draft something. Although we could definitely play like a 16 land deck here if our curve goes low enough. So All-Seed of Life's Bounty gives us a 1/1 lifelinker, and then we can use this to give something else protection from something till end of turn to save something from a removal spell. Actually seems pretty solid in this deck. I think we do have a lot of powerful, important later game creatures to keep alive. Definitely want to keep Thalia, Banalish Marshal, Luris for certain alive. All-Seed is a great combo with Luris, having a good sacrifice ability we can just keep looping once per turn. So yeah, I'll take All-Seed here, but Remorseful Cleric is great as well. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer, and it can shut off the graveyard decks. I just think All-Seed has a lot more it's comboing with here. I'm going to move Bomat Courier to the side here. We'll probably cut it, but I think I'm going to go with a 16 land deck here. So I won't cut it till I take another card. This is actually a really difficult pick. These are both going to be great at the time that we play them on curve. I think Adanto Vanguard is probably going to be better, but we have Isamaru as a 1 mana 2/2, or Adanto Vanguard as a 2 mana 3/1 that we can pay 4 life to give Indestructible to. So it's just a great attacker. It trades into stuff, and you can just make it survive the trades. With 3 power, it's likely to be killing any of the early blockers they have and staying on the board. So yeah, this just seems really good. But Isamaru is just great stats for the mana cost as well. Just a 1 mana 2/2. We're actually probably not playing Hanged Executioner in an aggressive deck. It's a 3 mana for 2 1/1 flyers, and then you can exile one of them to kill something? Maybe, I guess? I guess it's good with, like, the sword and stuff. Which definitely seems like more of a mid-range card to me. It's the only thing in our colors. It's not much of a choice there. Maybe play it over Fairgrounds Warden, actually. Because that will permanently exile something, and we still get a 1/1 flyer round after we use it. It's obviously good with our effects like Banalish Marshal that give the whole field +1/+1. Yeah, maybe going to run that over Fairgrounds Warden. Over here, I'm going to put all the stuff that is in close consideration to be cut. And we'll think about it that way. Probably Grateful Apparition as well. We just don't have a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff. We just took it because it's in our color. We're not playing any of these cards. These are all for a control deck. The very slow Wrath effect, the very slow game ending effect, turning all of your opponent's cards into 1/1s with no effects, or the very slow game winning effect of cast this twice and you win. You cast it, put it 7th from the top, and then if you cast it again, you win the game. All of these just big control cards. So we're not playing any of this stuff. I guess I'll just take another white card just cuz. Ranger Vios, we will most definitely play. That is a sick card here. 4 mana for a 3/2 is not awesome, but when we play it, we search our library for 2 creatures with CMC 1 or less, reveal them, and put them into our hand. So at 4 mana, we play Ranger Vios, and then we just draw Dauntless Bodyguard and Alseid, or we draw Alseid and Usher, any combination of those 3. Obviously better if we pick up Isamaru. The more 1-drops, the better, so that this is always drawing us 2, but Ranger Vios, very solid card. Definitely better than like Bozri's Lieutenant in this deck. I'm definitely cutting the Grateful Apparition at this point. A Bone Splitter is actually really good for these aggressive decks as well. 1 mana to play this, and then 1 mana to equip to give +2/+0. We also have some tokens. Reese the Redeemed can give us more tokens, but it's a lot of mana dumping into that effect. We want to just keep committing bigger creatures to our board every turn rather than spending 3 for a 1/1 in an aggro deck. And Mentor of the Week does give us card draw, but again, it does cost us a lot of mana to do that. We want to be putting all of our mana just towards hitting our opponent for as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. Very excited to see Bone Splitter added to Arena in the latest historic anthology, because I think that this card will really shine in Cube. This card is just super powerful in aggro decks. I'm going to take Pride of Conquerors over Heliod, because again, we just don't have that much life gain, although we may not be running this. This can give +2/+2 to the whole field for only 2 mana. Big game-ending card potentially in that way. We wield the Remorseful Cleric, and I'll most definitely play that. So that is solid. And we're just not going to play anything else. Could play Integrity as just +2/+2, but I doubt that's a thing. Alright, so white weenie aggro for the first Magic Arena Cube draft. Let's get into this thing. Definitely got to do a little bit of deck building here. Although it shouldn't be the hardest in the world. I think I can cut like 2 lands because we have 2 land spells as well. Oops, that's not one. There it is. My apologies if you can hear the construction going on outside my apartment right now. Alright. Only need to cut 2 more cards if we cut a couple lands. Average 2.4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 non-creatures right now, which does feel like a bit much. Maybe cut a God's Willing. I feel like Fight as 1 does feel better. We've got a big split between humans and non-humans. So this will often be doing 2 things, which is super big. This is another creature, so we can add that towards the creature count. In which case it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's only 8 non-creatures. I guess one of these is Starnheim Unleashed as well, which is more creatures. History Benalia is more creatures. Maybe we do cut another creature here. But we do want a ton Just always want to be curving out pretty aggressively. I think our worst aggro creatures like Charming Prince on 2. Yeah, that just seems like the lowest impact creature at its mana cost. Doesn't have anything it really combos with, it just scries for us a little bit. 2 mana for a 2/2 scry 2. Doesn't seem awful, but probably does the least out of anything in here. Yeah, I'll scoop out a Charming Prince, and here is our white weenie deck. We've got a decent amount of stuff to go with the Lurrus. All of these 2 or less permanents, obviously, we can keep recasting. Multiple have sacrifice effects as well, Remorseful Cleric and Alseid, although Remorseful Cleric doesn't really have a great effect to loop over and over, whereas Alseid does for sure, protecting Lurrus whenever we need it. Yeah, this deck seems really solid. A bunch of just weenie creatures, some good equipment, Sword of Body and Mind and Bone Splitter, and a little bit of removal and pump spells to get us through. A Cast Out, Glass Casket, Fight is 1. Yeah, seems like some solid stuff here. We're going to just try to aggro everybody out, while potentially they're going for some big late game plays. Definitely want to play against rampy decks, 5-color decks, stuff like that. So here we are in the first round of the Magic Arena Cube. This time around. Do get that turn 2 Thalia, which is pretty solid. You know, with Thalia in our deck, I could see us cutting more of our non-creatures, actually. Stuff like Cast Out, probably. Goblin Banneret turn 1, so we are going to be against a pretty aggressive deck here. Is Cast Out going to be good? Probably so. I don't think it's worth a cycle yet. We do draw into a Lurrus for turn 3, which is great. Both of our turn 2 and turn 3 play are both just great against other aggro decks. Actually, all 3 of these, because Thalia comes out, 2 power with First Strike is just hard to get in, so they're going to have to shoot her. Lurrus comes out, has lifelink, so we gain some life no matter what, and can cast stuff like Thalia from the grave. And then Bosri's Lieutenant comes out as a 4/5, really hard to kill, and when they kill it, we get another creature to block with, just a 2/2 to trade around with there, so that seems pretty good. Yeah, Thalia is really bad with the pump spells. That is definitely another thing I should have considered in the deck build. We probably do go down to less stuff. I think I'm racing here. Send in the Thalia. So we get that Angel turn 5 potentially. Probably should have cycled this Cast Out turn 1, because if we do hit turn Angel of Invention on turn 5, that'll be huge. And the longer it takes, the worse it is. And obviously, if we cycle Cast Out on our next turn, that means we're not casting Bosri's Lieutenant. So cycling at turn 1 would have been a lot better. If they just play multiple blockers here, Fight as 1 could be pretty massive. Just 1 blocker. Fight as 1 could still be okay here, and we can cast Fight as 1 as well as cycle a Cast Out. Yep, it's pretty good. Now we gain 4 and hit them for 3. And kill their Dragonkin Berserker. Now we just cycle this Cast Out to draw our land. I should have done that during our turn in case I hit the land right there and then hit another land off of the draw. That was definitely a misplay. Was playing a little bit too fast here, not considering that. Viashino Pyromancer. This for 2. Dragonmaster Outcast, definitely weird in an aggro deck, but it gives you some reach in the late game. If you have nothing else, if your opponent stabilizes, then sometimes dropping out a Dragonmaster Outcast can just get there. They're definitely hitting us for a couple off the Pyromancer here. Don't know what's going on here. Maybe some arena server issues. It is a new update, so stuff like this does happen a lot. Looks like our opponent was just a little slow there. And here comes Honored Crop Captain, giving the whole field +1, so they hit us for 5 here. I'm just going to cycle this Cast Out now. Did not hit a land, so it wouldn't have mattered if we did it main phase or not. So luckily that didn't cost us, but it certainly could have, and we should not have waited on that. So we have Bosri's Lieutenant or History of Benalia. Probably Bosri's Lieutenant. It's just a great blocker here. We probably do have to hold off for blocks now that we're down to 12. We have some pretty good blockers here, though. Could throw Bosri's Lieutenant's counter on something else. I don't think I'd want to put it on Luris, because I don't think I'm trying to block with Luris at all. But maybe throw it on Thalia. Then if Thalia does die, we get a 2-2. But having a 4-5 seems pretty big here. It's going to be very hard to attack into. And a 2-1 first strike's already plenty big to attack into. Dire Fleet Daredevil. Pick up a fight as one, but they don't have the mana for it because Thalia, obviously. Well, now I think I play Angel Invention and put the counters on the Angel because we're just trying to get in with the Flyer. It says Vigilance, so it attacks in pretty well. They'll have to trade multiple creatures into it, and if they do, we get a 2-2 out of it. Although then, if they kill the Angel of Invention later, then I don't get a 2-2 out of the Angel. Looks like we do just get to damage our opponent there for 5. They have 4 mana up now, and a History of Benalia it is, so Angel of Invention will certainly be getting in there. Benalish Marshal, just stack some anthems on each other, Angel and Benalish Marshal. Just make the field humongous. Both of these have Vigilance as well, so our attacks are very safe. Seems like a great position. Okay, so we get to do 6 damage here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We kill all of that and lose the Lieutenant. Seems fine to me. There's the concession from our opponent. The Angel of Invention really the game-winning card there, because we had a big board stall between the two of us, where they could probably end up trading into most of our cards. Not all of them, though, thanks to effects like Bosri's Lieutenant spitting out a 2-2 to replace itself when it dies. But yeah, the Angel they just did not have any blockers for, and that was going to be hitting for 5. Lifelink, which is a huge swing in an aggro mirror. So pretty solid game outside of the... probably should have cycled Cast Out just on turn 1, and definitely should have cycled it before my opponent's turn on the turn that I did decide to do it, just in case I hit the land, so I could play Angel of Invention that next turn if I hit 2 lands in a row. I will keep this, but we definitely need to draw into some late game cards. I did say I should consider cutting more non-creature stuff because of the Nombo with Thalia. Then I did forget to go into the deck build. That is something I do all the time. I'm like noticing little things that I could change about the deck and then just completely forgetting to go into the deck build screen. So I will try to remind myself here, just within my head. I don't know if I'll remember. I'll be completely honest. So Alseid turn 1, our opponent starts with Crag Crown Pathway. The red-green pathway. So they are on Gruul. Gruul can be pretty aggressive. It can also be kind of rampy. So we'll find out if they are a lower curve aggressive deck. Gruul can be a pretty hard matchup for like mono white and mono red because of the fact that they can get out, like they can get their stuff out on the field just about as quickly as you can, and often it's just going to be bigger because they have green at their disposal. So can definitely be a bad matchup. Should definitely be worried about it. And they obviously also have access to effects like Resilient Kenra that are going to give them value throughout this game. A 2-mana 2-2, and then later on it's going to be a 6-mana 4-4 from the grave with a big pump effect going on to another one of their creatures. Looks like we are just racing for now. I'm surprised they didn't go for the trade on the soldier. Although I suppose it would be technically trading a 1-1 for a 2-2. So we're probably going to cast out their Rada here before they draw any cards off of it. Yeah, I like just cast out in the main phase because Rada allows them to play lands off the top of their deck. So if they have a land on top of their deck, if they play that, then they just have drawn an additional card, basically. So we'll stop them before they start doing that. And that allows us to chip in for 2 damage there, stay on the aggressive if we can. Being against red-green here, I might go wide with the Angel of Invention and just make some more servos. Because if they do have just like a 2 mana 3 damage to something spell, then obviously it's better to have more things left behind than have them just spend one spell to kill our 1 card. Sawtusk Demolisher to kill our cast out to get back Rada, but we do get a 3/3 out of that at least. Sawtusk Demolisher, pretty solid here, pretty cheap mutate ability, and it becomes a 6/6 trample, blows something up. So yeah, these are the kind of cards we're going to have some struggles with, just having a 6/6 out on turn 4. 1 mana off from the Angel. Do I want to play Shelter as a land here then? Probably, because I do have Fight as one, and I am going to have a human out now. We'll play the human for the Fight as one. Say that we can give our Beast Indestructible if we want. And I'll play this Glacier as our land per turn. Probably actually planning on just blocking that Demolisher now. Like, because I'm at 12. If I attack in here, Rada probably doesn't block, so we could do 5 to them, put them to 11 unless we use Fight. Yeah, I don't think we're racing incredibly well now until we get an Angel out and start lifelink swinging. That seems like really big towards the race, because then we hit them for potentially 4 a turn if we put all the counters on the Angel, and gain 4 a turn. It's possible we want to hold on to Fight as one for the Angel, but we know they have White as well now, so they could just have Exiling removal too, which can get around Indestructible, obviously. I'm going to go for the Fight here to kill the Demolisher. Definitely don't want to... Oops. Should have blocked with Dauntless Bodyguard. This is literally a human, but it's not technically creature type human. Oop. Yeah, that's a miss. This giant artwork has betrayed me. That was just my brain instinctually being like, yes, that is a human soldier right there. Literally a human in the artwork. So that was a bad, just brain fart kind of punt. Did not have to lose a creature here. Probably even better to go for this sort of effect before we declare blockers, so that if they do burn one of the things, we don't lose both of them. Integrity. Okay, well that gets us either way. Alright, well, the triple block would have got us there. But if we blocked Elk and Bodyguard, we wouldn't have lost a creature here, which also would have been pretty important. So, unfortunately, just a bad... brain default misplay. Ah, I see that human there. Let's choose that human. Then Arena has to remind us that's not a human. That is just a soldier. Alright, play a Voracious Hydra is a pretty big creature off of only 4 mana. Yep, this was definitely a matchup I was pretty worried about, and it is panning out about how I expected. Just getting very large creatures out pretty quickly here. We can Glass Casket the Hydra to stop that from coming in, but it's only 5 toughness, so we can make a double block on it pretty easily, and they can only kill one of our creatures. I think it's more important to get the lifelink out so we can start that. But now they have enough mana to use Rada's ability as well, so I think this game is just over. Kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't on casting Angel of Invention. Because if we don't, we Glass Casket, like Rada, I guess. Rada or Hydra, either one of those. And then we just have chump blockers. We straight up just have chump blockers that have to chump block, so we lose our whole field if we just play Glass Casket. Suppose Rada doesn't have trample, so we just make a chump block here, because if we don't make a chump block, we take 9 and go to 1. I guess either way, we just lose Dauntless Bodyguard, and if we block this way, they spend all of their mana into Rada, and we lose Bodyguard. So this is a better chump block. With the Dauntless Bodyguard blocking, because of Rada's first strike, we obviously could not kill that. So life gain on Angel's going to be huge here. Oh, I've completely forgot about my equipment. The Arena Cube, you are playing with a lot of complex cards because you're playing with a lot of standard-worthy cards, obviously. So expect Punt City here. I'll just have Lava Coil. Well, game was over regardless, but we should have had the Ancestral Blade on the Angel for the attack, so we should be at 15 instead of 14 here. They should be at 11 instead of 12. We take 10 here or just lose the Elk on nothing. I guess I just take 10, so it's more likely I could draw into something that can help the Elk kill something. Usher the Fallen, not going to do it here. We just needed a phenomenally aggressive card to beat a Gruul aggro deck, because their creatures are just going to be larger very quickly. I don't know if we saw any white spells from our opponent, so I don't know what the white splash was for. There's certainly a lot of aggressive white cards, as we've seen in our own deck, so they just put a little bit in there to complement the aggressive Gruul, I suppose. See what we got here. I'm going to keep this. We're going to play Sajiri Shelter as our first land so that we know we hit 3 mana, so we can play Marshal and Bugler. I forgot to edit the deck. I will edit the deck after this round. We'll definitely cut a little bit of the non-creature stuff and make the curve a little more aggressive if we can, although I don't know if we have enough 1 or 2 drops to make that any more aggressive. I think we probably did. We cut like a Charming Prince, so we'll throw the Charming Prince back in, take out a non-creature spell instead, I'm thinking. Our opponent has Drowned Catacomb into Rootbound Crack, so this is the matchup that we're looking for. Definitely want to play against the 5-color sort of decks. However, this is one of the slower starts that our deck is capable of, so we're not going to punish them too hard for it, especially when they cast a Thief of Sanity. We're going to have to just kill that immediately. We can't let Thief of Sanity go off. That card's ridiculous. Excuse me for the little hiccup burp there. What is this? Malakir Mire or Malakir Rebirth. Now Paradise Druid is the next play. With 4 mana available, I think we cast Militia Bugler in case I draw into a 1 mana creature off of it, which is possible. Draw into Angel of Invention. Bugler can hit Angel of Invention. That's ridiculous. Does have 2 or less power. That's actually an incredible combo I did not even consider. I was kind of just thinking our like 2 and 1 mana cards are a lot of 2 power stuff, but even the Angel of Invention, that is solid. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, sure. Starts with 4 loyalty. If they minus and try to kill Bugler, we can kill Chandra here, which should be huge. Oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. Save the Bugler and then just hit Chandra with our Bugler. We draw into a Bone Splitter. The Angel's gonna die to a single removal spell. I kind of would rather go wide here. Maybe cast Luris and Bone Splitter on the Luris. Luris dies to 1 removal spell too, but then Angel is more likely to like resolve and stay around, and our board is just wider for like a Banalish Marshal into Pride of Conquerors sort of play. I don't really need flying right now when they just have a 2-1 on the ground. I guess they can trade the 2-1 into Luris, but I obviously have plenty of pump spells to stop that from happening. Just playing Banalish Marshal immediately stops that. Alright, Thalia is actually a great draw right now. We don't have much non-creature stuff we're trying to do, and our opponent probably has a lot. We just have Pride of Conquerors, which will still easily have the mana up for most of the time. Obviously not going to cast Thalia till post-combat here, just in case something goes wrong. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have enough for Pride of Conquerors to be +2/+2 to everything, which should be great. See what this is. They're blocking Militia Bugler, so they're blocking a 3/4 with their 2/1. They may have a shock or something to finish it off. I don't know. They're going to Bedevil Luris. Just destroy an artifact creature planeswalker. Yeah, that destroys the Luris. So they just want to stop all the damage they can. We do still kill the Paradise Druid, so I think we're fine with this. Wildborn Preserver, 2/2 Flash Reach. Alright. It can get a lot bigger when they play more creatures if they dump extra mana into it. We'll just play a Thalia out here, get a 3/2 First Striker. Make their other stuff cost more. Gifted Aetherborn, 2/3 Death Touch Lifelink, and they can dump some counters on Preserver if they want. They're going to make it a 5/5 Reach blocker. We can throw a Bone Splitter onto Thalia and cast an Angel of Invention here. Angel of Invention obviously can get blocked by that Reach creature, which is unfortunate. And for that reason, I kind of want to go wide and make Pride of Conquerors potentially lethal. I'm going to do this pre-combat for more damage coming in with Thalia. But we're definitely putting the Bone Splitter on Thalia so that if they block with anything, we just kill it. If we put the Bone Splitter on anything else, they can trade with the Death Toucher, or they can potentially like do Wildborn. Well, they have the board wipe of the Languish, which will just get us here. Go with a 5/1 Adonto Vanguard on attacks. The Eldest Reborn to kill our one creature. It makes us sacrifice it, so even if we give indestructibility, it still dies. Pass turn here. All we have is a field pump spell, just a Pride of Conquerors. We hold on to the land so we can discard it to Eldest Reborn's second ability. Phylath, that probably closes it out here. Not sure there's anything we can draw to deal with both of those at this point. Take 5 down to 9. Hanged Executioner does not deal with both of them, doesn't even deal with one of them. We just play it to chump block stuff. They get a counter on a plant, so they have 2 5/5s and a 4/5. They bring back the best creature or planeswalker from any grave. Could bring back Angel, buff their whole field and get more creatures. Or they can just bring back Chandra. Yeah, this game's mega over. We're going to move on to the next round. That is 1 and 2 for the mono white aggro today. Oh, hold up. I have finally remembered to rebuild the deck around Thalia a little more. Alternatively, we could just cut Thalia and throw in Charming Prince instead of Thalia, but I think I like building around her more. So I'll throw in the Charming Prince. And maybe the Fairgrounds Warden instead of Cast Out, like that kind of cut. Because they do a similar ability, but one of them is non-creature, so we take out the non-creature one. And I would just take out maybe the Fight is one. Maybe the Pride of Conquerors. Pride of Conquerors was tremendously bad in that last game, but that was just the position we were in, really. I don't know. I'll take out the Pride. All right. Thrown in 2 more creatures, taking out a couple non-creatures. Thalia is definitely a lot better now. All right. Well, a little slow. We do have Charming Prince scrying us a couple cards, hopefully getting us something to play on turn 3. Opponent just immediately starts with Field of the Dead. We obviously have Luris to play on turn 3 now, but I will still scry here. See what we're hitting. Thalia and Fight is 1. Don't really want Fight as 1, but I think Thalia could be solid this game. At the same time, we do have just a great 3-4-5 ramp, so we actually just really want to hit planes. So I think I'll scry both to the bottom. Hope that our turn 2, 3, 4, 5 just stacking up and damaging our opponent can kill them before Field of the Dead goes off. We really get going that way. I think I'll attack here first. Is this a knight? It's a human noble. I'm going to cast History of Benalia before Luris. So if our opponent has any removal, they're using it on one of these instead of Luris. Next turn I'll play Kabir Plateau into Luris if I don't draw the 4th planes. Alright, so we only have 3 mana available here, so obviously Luris and play the tapped land. Nothing adds any power to this board this turn, so we just attack in. And now we play our Luris. Next turn, History of Benalia goes off. Our knights get +2/+1, so unless they have a Wrath like right now, they're taking a ton of damage. Chromatic Lantern. Feed the Swarm to kill one of the cards and take no damage because it was a token. So that's solid, but we do have the 5th mana now for Angel of Invention. Give the whole field +1/+1 for even more damage here and get a real nice flyer. Opponent is down to 2 life. Even if they Wrath us, we have backups that will all do definitely at least 2 damage apiece. Seems like a really solid start to this game. See if the 5-color deck can come back from that. And that looks like a nope. Definitely just the exact matchup that we wanted, working out exactly as we wanted it to. We curved out very well, and they could not stabilize fast enough, so that puts us to 2-2 for mono white aggro. Heading into round 5 now. Maddie Daddy, alright. That is the username. We have a 2-mana card into these 3-mana cards. We have that game-ending Angel of Invention. Seems like a pretty solid start to this game here. I think we play Blade turn 2, History of Benalia turn 3, and Benalish Marshal turn 4, most likely. Although I guess if we play History of Benalia before Marshal, then Marshal's not going to be getting the +2/+1. Is it? See, play this, no, play this, then play this. We do part 1. Next turn we do part 2, then play Marshal. No, it'll still get the plus. Yeah, I'm going to play the History before the Benalish Marshal, I think. Again, just put all our smaller creatures out to bait the early game removal before the more important creature. The bigger one that also buffs the whole field. Kind of want to play a Danto Vanguard before Ancestral Blade now, because that hits for 3 a turn. Although we are against red-white so far, Inspiring Vantage starts things out, but this could always be another multicolored deck. Could be 3 or more colors. If they're just red and white, they're 90% going to be aggro. Excuse my water bottle there. Just crankling. So our opponent is going on the clock here. Alright. So that makes me think, the fact that they took a while there makes me think they're probably 5-color. If they go red-white into blue and drop a card that makes treasure tokens. I guess not necessarily, but Adanto Vanguard blocks perfectly well here. We can just pay the life and trade with Magda. So I think we go with the Adanto Vanguard over the Ancestral Blade because we can block and still have a creature on the board. And even on blocks, it has enough power to kill Magda. Doesn't have to tap itself to gain Indestructible either. So even if they try to use a burn spell here. Yes, that's red, green, blue, and white so far. And a Grateful Apparition is the play if they start getting any counters. They may have to cash in Magda for a treasure token here to make sure they can hit whatever they're trying to play in the future. We'll find out. They're definitely thinking about it. Pretty long pause on the combat step. Alright, no attacks it is. So I think we attack with Adanto Vanguard. Pay the life if they block with anything. If not, just hit for 3. And then we'll cast History of Benalia. Still going for the Benalia into Benalish Marshal play. The very flavorful, very powerful play. I am absolutely going to trade this knight for their Magda, though, if they send that in, I think. When you're a very multicolored deck, you're probably ramping into big stuff, so Magda probably matters a lot. Although if we don't take the trade, we do hit for more when the Benalia goes off. Of course, they don't even attack with the Magda here, so we are just going to take 1 from Grateful Apparition. It does proliferate whenever it hits us, so if they are playing a lot of Planeswalkers or +1/+1 counters, that can do a lot later, but right now, it's just doing a damage. Not very scary. Shepherd of the Flock. 2 mana for a 3/1. Seems fine by me. It's kind of a weird deck here. Maybe they're just splashing in 2 colors in their mainly Boros. Glass Casket is the draw. That does seem solid. I don't think we're playing it here, though, because, again, Benalish Marshal for History of Benalia to go off as powerfully as possible seems big. We'll play it pre-combat to get in for more damage, at least with the Adanto Vanguard, but they may trade for a Knight here with their 3/1. It is Vigilance, so it is also going to block really well, so be an annoying card that they'd want to get off the board. Although it is just a creature token. If they trade here, they know they can't trade for, like, Marshall. Alright, the trade is made, which is fair enough. I'm getting pretty aggressive, and they're taking 4, going down to 13. So it is probably important to get those creatures off the board when they can. Five mana now from our opponent, a 6th if they attack with Magda. They go for the attack with Magda. We'll definitely block with the 3/3 Knight, but this means they're probably casting a powerful 6-drop on us. And just allowing Magda to die in order to play that 6-mana card. Anguirus Armored Killer is going to mutate, so they need a double green for that. That just blows up History Benalia, so we don't do any extra damage to them, but that seems fine by me. We still have plenty of creatures on this board. We're still getting an aggressive against that, and they can't really attack in with that. That unfortunately has Anguirus on top, so it's converted mana cost 4 now, so Glass Casket doesn't hit it anymore. If we play Angel of Invention, all our creatures are big enough to attack into that, and they just trade with something. They trade with Benalish Marshal, but that's probably an okay trade at this point, when we're pressuring them so heavily. Yeah, absolutely just slam all in, so we hit for 9 and they kill Benalish Marshal. And they're down to 4 now. Angel might have been better split up into servos here, because we see, like, red from them, so, like, Lightning Strike and stuff. I don't know. It'd be better against, like, Crush the Weak as a 4/3, but I'm not exactly sure what kind of stuff they have in that deck. Definitely a weird multicolored sort of pile. So I don't know if I should be playing more around the lightning strike type stuff or the more wipey stuff. Pyroclasm type effects. So we are in round 6, 3 wins and 2 losses. We're going first with a 2-1 on turn 1, seems good. Obviously we don't get the extra value of giving something indestructible with this, but we're still just playing it on turn 1 to get aggressive. That Sword of Body Mind will be great later. We're going to hold on to Shijiri Shelter until we draw any 4 or 5 mana cards, because it is possible we just keep drawing cheap stuff, and we can use this to protect something from a removal spell or get it through for extra damage. Sword of Body and Mind could be pretty awesome in the late game here as well. Obviously turning any of our creatures into a big threat against the right deck. If they're just playing Simic, it will be incredible. If we're against just mono red here, then obviously not so much. 1/1 First Strike is just the best card they could have against a 2/1 here, and we're not going to sacrifice Shijiri Shelter just to kill a 1/1 First Strike. So I'll just hold off here. If they attack in, we do get to crack back, unless they play a blocker that they're okay with trading into Bodyguard. Direfleet Daredevil, it is first strike, so definitely an annoying start against an aggro deck for red. A lot of first strikers to muck up the combat on the board. I feel like they are pretty likely to have some burn spell stuff going on to kill a Benalish Marshal, so I'm going to cast a History Benalia first. There is a pretty decent argument for casting Benalish Marshal, which is that if they don't have a burn spell, if they don't have 3 damage for 2 mana or whatever, then it does block the first strikers, so it holds them off here, whereas just another 2/2 token doesn't. But I just think it's so tremendously likely out of what we've seen being just mono red here. Yeah, see, there's a Skewer the Critic, so I'm incredibly happy I didn't play Benalish Marshal, because now they've just skewered 1/2 of a History of Benalia, which is way better than skewering 1 full Benalish Marshal. Just take 3 here. Not actually under an immense amount of pressure, thankfully. Now I get to hold up Fight as 1, so that I can give Benalish Marshal Indestructible if they try to shoot it. That was a great draw. Definitely getting aggressive with the 3/2, because we have enough blockers for these two. We only really need to block the 2/1. We can take 1 damage for quite a while here. Hazoret the Fervent, they don't have the ability to attack with that yet. They need to discard some more cards. But that can also discard lands to be doing 2 to us each turn, or discard anything really. So it helps feed its own ability, which is powerful. But definitely not going to be attacking in here. And we have kind of turned things around into us having the better, more aggressive board state pretty quickly off of Benalia plus Marshal. Obviously Benalia goes off here, giving +2/+1 to the field, so we may attack in. Depends on what we draw here. Charming Prince. Well, that would have been really good earlier. I think that could... I don't know, it only exiles creatures. But I guess it's okay here. We can exile and return the Bodyguard. So Hazoret can't attack or block. So we can attack in with everything here. And they can't kill anything unless they double block Bodyguard with first strikers, and we can blow them out with a Shijiri Shelter or a Fight as 1. Charming Prince makes sure that we leave behind another blocker. Yeah, this is pretty great. Just play Charming Prince to untap somebody. They're just going to go for the chump blocks here. I think that is 100% fine. Now we play Charming Prince and hold up Shijiri Shelter, so we have the protection spell against removal, and it's against any removal instead of just indestructible. Although I guess against a red deck, any removal they're going to have, indestructible is going to work. I think I untap the Bodyguard here, because now I can put Bodyguard actually on the Benalish Marshal to protect it, which is pretty big. Yep, that seems great. Charming Prince actually doing a lot of work here. Very glad with the changes I made to the deck. Even without drawing Thalia at all, since we made those changes, the deck seems to be functioning a little better. Just with Charming Prince and stuff. So our opponent has 3 cards in hand. They're 2 away. Shadowcrow Smashing do 3 damage to that. They are tapped out when they do that, so I can just like fight as 1 here, or Sajiri Shelter, they only have a 1/1 to block with. Yeah, I would rather keep as many creatures as possible out. I guess I'll do the more expensive thing, because fight as 1 can save stuff from whatever as well. Yep, and there's the concession from our opponent. They have 1 blocker, so they chump block a 3-power creature and take 9. We could do 11 if we fight as 1. If we hit a land, we get to Sword of Body and Mind onto something. And they would obviously chump block that one, but taking 9 no matter what there, and not going to be in a great position, whatever they do. Does put us into 4 wins and 2 losses for mono white aggro. And I think that we may, honestly, having changed the deck now and liking the cards that I've put into it, I think that we may have done better in some of the earlier rounds had we went with this build from the beginning. Alright, well, this is not a good hand. I think I actually have to mulligan this because we don't have a viable play until turn 4. Like, we just have Glass Casket slowing down our opponent, and that is not what our deck is trying to do at all. Yeah, I think we have to mulligan here. I mean, this is risky, but we do have that turn 2 Thalia, and we can just keep playing other creatures. We just play a tapped land turn 1. I think we definitely keep all the mana here and just get rid of a Hanged Executioner, maybe. Maybe Ancestral Blade, actually, because we're definitely playing Thalia turn 2, and then Ancestral Blade costs 3 after that. Charming Prince Scries, make sure we hit the mana we need, or powerful later game cards. Yeah, we'll get rid of the sword, the Ancestral Blade. The mini sword, the weaker one for sure. We're against red. I'd rather have Kabir Takedown or Sajiri Shelter. I guess I have 2 mana guaranteed, so I could hold on to these 2. But they're going to cost 3 off of Thalia. This is the only turn I can play a tapped land without feeling bad about it. I think I'm going to get rid of Kabira Takedown here. We're going to have 2 creatures max right now. I guess we'll have 4 once we have Hanged Executioner out. It just seems pretty likely against red, even if they're aggressive, that they'll be using burn spells to be shooting our creatures down, and we'll end up with not a ton on the board, so probably not doing a ton of damage with Kabir Plateau, or Kabir Takedown there, and Sajiri Shelter to be able to protect something from removal seems probably better. We'll start with a Thalia here, although it does not attack in well against a 1/3 from our opponents. This also allows them to just discard cards to cast whatever they want out of the top 2. They do have to spend the mana to cast those cards, though. Castle Emberth turn 3, definitely another mono red deck here. Well, what in red can foretell? This is not mono red, this may be Boros, and they just foretold the big angel spell that I forgot the name of. So, Channeler's annoying. Is it annoying enough to want to use a pump spell on immediately? I don't think so. I think we want a Charming Prince and Scry, make sure that we're hitting some lands here, because Angel of Invention should be big later in this game. Well, Militia Bugler's pretty awesome, as is Luris, but these have to die for Luris to be good. I don't know. These are both great cards, but we aren't hitting lands if we do these. We get to play Sajiri Shelter as our 4th land. We need to play Luris before Bugler, or Bugler just puts Luris on the bottom of our library. These do seem awesome. Yeah, I'll put them there. Luris is also big enough to actually just attack into the Magmatic Channeler. Opponent plays Savai Triumph, so yeah, I'm guessing they're Boros, and they're gonna dunk us with some angels. So if we have to get as aggressive as possible then because of that, I think we do attack in. Oh, they got 3 mana up, though. They can play a 2 mana burn spell and kind of blow us out. Off of a attempt to cast a pump spell. Let's see. Demon Bolt is in this cube? Why is Demon... Okay. I guess it is a powerful limited card. That was not what I was expecting as well. Like, not what I was expecting at all. I guess that works. Well, I'm actually happy with that. That makes me feel like I'm more likely to win this game, even though I got blown out there. I guess it wasn't a blowout, it was a 1-for-1. Traded Demon Bolt for Fight as 1. No, it was a 2-for-1 trade. Fight as 1 and Thalia for the Demon Bolt. But yeah, now they just have 3 cards left, and I'm not that scared, because they're just random little red stuff. Ruin Blaster is good against the non-basic lands, though. Okay, I'm gonna have Luris to get Thalia back later, so we can get there. I think we cast Militia Bugler here, get another good blocker for their aggression. Did not draw anything off of Bugler, though. That is rough. And we hit a bunch of lands that are going to be heading to the bottom of our library now. So I guess they are just mono red with a little bit of a splash potentially off of Savai Triome. Obviously, this is my first time playing the cube. I got off work and immediately started recording this video, so I haven't even really seen much of what's in it. I did a quick breeze through it, but definitely not enough to have it all memorized and know that there is Demon Bolt you can foretell in red. Oh boy. They get a Chandra out now.
You and I are gonna take them out.
That is pretty bad
This'll be easy.
for us. Now they add double red, cast another Chandra. They can put a counter on all of their red planeswalkers. Well, Chandra Tribal is kind of gonna dunk on us here then, I guess. Yep. I suppose the attack with Thalia did end up costing us the game because I was so scared of their Foretold card. Because if we didn't attack with Thalia, we just hold there and probably don't cast anything, in which case I do still have Fight as 1. They probably try to Demon Bolt in our end step or something, and then we just respond with a Fight as 1. And save the Thalia. Saving the Thalia makes it so these are more expensive. Slows them down definitely enough to where we can maybe get out of this, but I don't know if we can now. Because we are just off on a too slow start here at this point. I want to play Luris more than anything else, but whatever we play just gets torched for 4 damage from Chandra. I guess Hanged Executioner makes more creatures. They can only torch 1, but they can torch the only one that matters, the spirit itself. Does give us cards that can go ahead and hit the Chandras pretty easily. Yeah, I guess we go Executioner here. We play Luris, and Luris is just going to get shot by the -3 from Chandra.
Fire spreads fast.
Which is only a -2 when they have the other one out. Oh, they just immediately have enough loyalty for the ultimate, so when they cast anything, they do 5 damage to anything. They just have to cast 4 spells in this game, and we lose. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, we lose this turn, then yeah, light up the stage. No, we'll be at 3 life. No, they have Magmatic Channeler. No cards in hand to discard to that, so we don't lose this turn. But, oh my god, do we lose. We get absolutely devastated by the Chandra Tribal at the end here. Really cool deck to lose to. I will say that this cube has felt a lot more Tinkerer's QB than regular QB to me, which is weird because they didn't call it the Tinkerer's Cube this time around. But definitely they still have like all the 5-color crazy stuff. Heliod's still in here. Just a lot of crazy stuff in here. very combo-y. Yeah, that's just going to close out the game on us. They just cast one spell. Even if they don't draw a spell, if they draw a spell in the top 3, they get to cast it. I guess our play is Luris here, because then if they don't kill us immediately, we do gain some life on our block. Potentially survive. Oh yeah, Chandra can also cast spells from the grave, so we die to that.
This one before.
Chandra Tribal absolutely destroying us there at the end. So the game definitely could have gone differently if we didn't go for the attack into that 1-3. The idea behind that was a very incorrect read on the Foretold card, thinking that they were Boros potentially with the Angel Spewing card for the late game, which would absolutely crush us in the late game, so if the game goes long, we definitely lose. So I made that attack being like, alright, well, we kind of have to get this 1-3 out of the way. So the only way we're going to be able to do it is in combat by sending this attack in. And then the Foretold card was just the Demon Bolt to shut off the Thalia. Had Thalia still been on the board, had we just held on to our pump spells to potentially stop them from removing Thalia, it would have slowed down our opponent quite a bit there, maybe enough for us to stabilize or put ourselves in a more aggressive position than our opponent. Definitely would have changed the course of the game and potentially given us a shot. Like, you never know. But obviously the way that we played did not pan out for us at all. So 4-3 for the first Magic Arena Cube draft of the Return to the Cube.
Justice will be served.
Not bad at all.
From the core of my soul.
Do get most of our gold back out of a 4-3. It costs 4,000 gold to enter. You get 3,000 gold back out of a 4-3. Pretty fun run altogether. I'm definitely excited to dive into this cube and learn more about these strategies and what is available. Definitely, the more I play it, the more I'll be able to make plays around like Foretold cards and stuff that will not be heinously wrong as that one it was there. I think definitely the rebuild of this deck was correct as well. The rebuild worked a lot better than the initial build. Definitely combos better with Thalia and gives us a little bit of a more aggressive curve, which is certainly better, definitely panned out in some of those games. All around, a little bit shaky, not perfect, but 4-3 is solid, and I'll always take that to get started in the format. So as always, thank you all very much for watching, and if you enjoyed that video, just stick around, do everything you're already doing, like, comment, subscribe, all of those goodies that let the YouTube algorithm know that you're interested in the content, and as always, thank you again for watching, and I will see you for more Magic Arena content tomorrow.